Alright, welcome to the top 10 worst anime of the decade. No ifs, ands, or buts, this is the definitive list. Number 10. Alden OA 0. Where to even begin with this clusterfuck? The CG mech disaster with the inexistent egg-loving main character that did cool things, like killing the princess, only to not kill the princess, only to kill the princess, to not kill the princess, and make a fucking second season. Which was presumably just as appalling, though after the train wreck of Alden OA 0, I did not have the heart to watch much past the first episode of Season 2. Klein or Balls Deep 69 with a spineless ninny, the entirety of the Mars people, or Moon people? I don't remember, it didn't make any sense anyways. The entire plot could have and should have been resolved in episode 1. Pointless friends were abound, all powerful male lead, useless adults. The show had it all. The best part of the show was the ending, where main dudes died, but of course, from season 2, they didn't actually die, so no, there's nothing at all redeeming about Alden OA fucking 0. Number 9, Infinite Stratos. Infinite Stratos is perplexing. It's kind of just a throwaway male power fantasy harem trash where dude is the only dude to pilot the mech for reasons and becomes the strongest because he's a dude, of course, and the girls just drop pants at the sight of him. The stupidity of Infinite Stratos paired with its unfortunately sky-high popularity just makes it the perfect target for a personal vendetta, which is where I and IS, Infinite Stratos, are at crossroads. There's nothing inherently wrong with guiltily enjoying Infinite Stratos, just know you are a wrong. Number 8, Shigatsu wa Kimi no Uso, Your Lie in April. In comes the hate. Shigatsu is easily the best show on this list. Beautiful music, supremely animated and directed performance scenes, and some attempts at dramatic high-stake writing made for some amazing highs for this show in its stride. Unfortunately, horrendous pacing, mixed-matched direction, and abysmally flat characterization and development shoots Shigatsu straight into the ground. Kosei could have been interesting if the writers knew what abuse, depression, and anxiety actually look like. Instead of being ham-fisted and only when relevant to the plot, the girl could have been a dramatic foil if she wasn't 2D for the first half of the show and then proceeding to become nothing but a cliffhanger dying every episode in the second half until the show finally decides to end. And everyone else either being the two useless friends or the infinite useless underdeveloped rivals. Looking back on the show, nothing happened. None of the performances mattered, nothing that happened had any weight, and we're just left wasting some 20 some odd episodes. The show is trash, and if you think otherwise, you only actually like the music, which is fine. The music is good. Number 7, Gate. Gate is my cheap choice. I have not watched Gate. Gate is the military otaku power fantasy. The show looks bad, is bad, feels bad, and is an abysmal waste of time and energy. The girl designs are horrendous, the male lead is nowhere near realistic, and of course, nothing else in the show has a sliver of a chance of mattering. These types of light novel garbo are a plague on anime of this decade, and Gate is the epitome of why this is a fucking problem. The day I happily watch Gate is the day I blow my fucking skull out. Number 6, Kino's Journey. Kino's Journey is one of the most wonderful experiences in road anime. The characters are plodding and contemplative, and the settings are exceptionally complimentary. Everything in the show, from the music to the limited animation, alongside bizarre stylistic choices, such as having a grainy filter laid over top the whole anime, do wonders in creating a mysterious atmosphere which draws you into the thoughts and ideas of each episode. Simply put, Kino's Journey is a fantastic anime which induces deep thoughts. Kino's Journey 2017, on the other hand, is a horrendous mischaracterization of what made the original anime at all interesting. Every decision put into the new Kino's Journey is baffling. taking the most popular standalone tales of Kino, telling them without any connection to the main characters and their development lead to a pointless exploration plot-wise. Removing all ambiguity from Kino's gender, the state of the talking bite Hermes, and the mental state of Kino removed all semblance of tension in the mysteries of the world of the original. And the removal of all style and flavor in favor of generic late 2010s base-ass animation just left New Kino feeling like a husk of its former self. I suffered through all 12 episodes of New Kino, just lost and appalled at how the entire heart of what made the original Kino good was ripped out and trodden upon with shit-cased boots. New Kino is not good for introducing people to Kino's journey, is bad for fans of the original light novel, and is awful for fans of the original anime. New Kino serves no purpose and should have never been made. Number 5. Just Because. Just Because is probably like the second best show on this list. It's got some unusual writing here and there, but the characters, though quite shallow, do perform anime roles, do anime things, and everything is pretty well fine and dandy. Just Because does some interesting things sometimes, but ends up relying quite heavily on circumstances and melodrama to tell its pretty stereotypical high school romance drama. The greatest strength of Just Because is in its two romantic leads, the natural development of them together, teasing one another, going out regularly, just constantly enjoying one another's company. They each have real passions and goals for their lives in the future, and it seems perfect that the two of them would continue their lives this way, encouraging and supporting each other along the way. Unfortunately, Komina is not the true choice girl as backwater awful childhood friend syndrome strikes. Natsume is awful. Natsume is the actual main romantic lead. Natsume has no chemistry with main dude, actively wrecks his life and decisions, and has no commendable goal or purpose of her own. Her only connection to the main dude is the fact that she's a fucking childhood friend. Main dude, changes his entire life plan just to be close to her, despite there being no reason for either to care at all about the other. And I remember just being so blinded by rage by the end of the series. I don't remember if they even hold hands or what the fuck they even do. Komiya was the most interesting and best thing about Just Because, and she was absolutely decimated in the end by horrendous writing. This brings the almost passable Just Because to absolute infuriating garbage tier and a definite do not watch this show. Number 4, Futari wa Milky Holmes. Alright, second cheat time here. Milky Holmes is an absolute oddity. The first season is an excellent, hilarious parody comedy that found a perfect balance of absurdist comedy with endearing characters. The second season escalates this, becoming an even funnier, more absurd comedy, now with extremely endearing characters due to the time spent together. Despite this, the reception of Milky Holmes in the West was very lackluster, boasting both a very low viewership and a low critical score. In Japan, however, Milky Holmes faced positive response. The voice actors formed an idol group to some fanfare, and card game tie-ins also cemented its popularity. The third season, Futari wa Milky Holmes set out to introduce two main characters, perhaps to take the toll off the surging popular Suzuki Memori and Sora Tokui, which would be all fine and dandy, but the perplexing change came in the mood of season 3. Milky Holmes was no longer a comedy. Season 3 is not funny. There are no jokes, no absurdity, just straightforward, stereotypical mystery magical girl bullshit. Milky Holmes was never actually about solving mysteries, ever, but out of nowhere, Futari wa Milky Holmes tries to take itself seriously? None of the original characters acted the way they did in the first two seasons, so there's an immediate disconnect and discomfort. all the build-up, goodwill, and endearment just disappears. I don't know the reason for this change, but I do know I didn't like it. Milky Holmes went from a great show to absolutely nothing in the span of a single season. This change came out of absolutely nowhere and completely ruined everything the franchise had built up to that point. Still, in disbelief about the train wreck of a third season, I checked out both the fourth season, TD, and the alternative version of the original Milky Holmes, but neither ever reached even close to the quality of the OG Milky Holmes. Number 3, Little Busters, especially Little Busters Refrain. I'm already getting mad. I loved Key. I watched and enjoyed Air. I cried and cried over Makoto from Canon, and Clannad, and in particular Clannad After Story, is one of my all-time favorite anime. And then Little Busters happened. Little Busters was also number 4 after these. It took years and years for Little Busters to finally get adapted, and all that time those who played the visual novels were constantly singing its praises. After 5 long years, JC's staff finally took up the challenge to follow in the footsteps of the juggernaut Kyoto Animation and adapt a key visual novel. Evidently, fans were disappointed as the quality could never reach the heights of the legendary KyoAni, but the adaptation we were all waiting for was finally here. Little Busters itself is weird. The story builds the same as a stereotypical visual novel, with our main lead assembling a varied collection of different hair color tropes, all of which have great visual designs. But almost immediately, a big problem makes itself apparent. That problem, onefold, is our main lead, Riki. Riki is a bitch. Riki is not interesting. Riki is not fun to watch. Riki's character is the nice guy. Riki helps the girls in need because he's nice. And Riki can actually only help sometimes. And this is because our main character has another huge fucking problem. So, narcolepsy. Narcolepsy is a sleep disorder which manifests in Little Busters by Riki collapsing to sleep. But this only manifests whenever it conveniently builds drama or suspense. The easiest comparison of Little Busters is to Clannad, with visual novel fans claiming original Clannad is better than Little Busters, but Refrain, the second season of Little Busters, is better than Clannad After Story. We'll get back to that. Okazaki, the main character of Clannad, is miles better than Riki. Okazaki is funny. This meaningfully engages him together with a variety of girls, is the plot, and it makes sense why they would hang out with him and enjoy his company. Okazaki's condition is consistent. It doesn't just appear off and on whenever it would be convenient to build suspense. Also, Okazaki is voiced by a man instead of Riki, voiced by the famed Yui Horie, whose voice is impossible to ignore coming out of Riki's mouth. So, that's one. Riki is one problem, but second is the abhorrent lack of romance. This one kind of makes sense given our Riki, but it truly does hamper the experience. With no romantic inclinations in the slightest, the point of this extensive group of gorgeous girls is lost. It becomes a waking nightmare. Riki bends to the wills of every girl he interacts with to create meaningful friends in the process. I've heard the argument that this is the appeal of Little Busters, but for me, it just leaves me confused as to how the story could ever meaningfully progress if there are zero romantic developments. Anyway, the story develops meaninglessly, and this group of platonic friends develops, and you're just left uncaring. It's nothing harmful, but certainly not worth spitting venom about for more than a few minutes. But this is all just the first season of Little Busters. Little Busters Refrain has been touted as better than Clannad After Story. This is not only untrue, but exceedingly so. Refrain is a catastrophic attempt at a dramatic tale. Spoilers, fucking out of nowhere, the characters start acting like mega dicks, which is completely absurd and out of character, and that happens for a bit, until it's revealed that the entire world is a dream world for Riki and the apparent main girl, Rin. Apparently there was like a bus crash, and Riki, because he was such a mega bitch, got the second chance to stop being such a weenie, and Rin was there too, I guess. So then he goes back in time to save everyone, because apparently he isn't a weakling anymore, even though he was a pansy ass for the entire fucking show, and that's what bullshit actually happens. So in the end, literally everything that happened didn't, because it was a fake world, but everyone remembers it, or maybe it did happen, and those were memories, but just like, why? Okay, why does any of this matter? Riki sucked and didn't change. None of the characters do anything either. There's literally nothing between Riki and Rin, and the show just ends. There's no point to anything. There was nothing to learn, nothing to feel, just absolute garbaggio. After story is streets ahead of Refrain. Also, if this story of imaginary worlds where characters lose themselves until they become strong enough to accept their past sounds familiar, no fucking shit, they remade it in fucking Angel Beats. Because the visual novel was before Angel Beats. So while Little Busters was just pointless, Refrain was infuriatingly so. It took itself so seriously the entire time. It thought it was telling the most compelling story ever put to writing. Little Busters Refrain is one of the worst stories I ever had the extreme displeasure of sitting through. Fuck you, Keyframes. I hate Refrain almost as much as I hate you. Number 2. Alright, I got a little riled up there about Refrain, and at least I got that out of my system. Glad to be finished, though. Honestly, what about the next one? Right. This is a list of the worst anime of the decade, and there's still more. So, well, what's next? Sakurasou no Pet no Kanajo. Fuck. Sakurasou is otaku trash of a different level. Actually, after all of that about Refrain, there's no way I hate Sakurasou more than it. Okay, so Sakurasou is number 3, Refrain number 2. Sakurasou, so, isn't that bad, right? Main character, shitty, boring, passive-ass nice guy, who cares? Main girl, literal embodiment of autism, and everyone else is just extreme one-net forgettable waste. I remember Cheery Autism had a drama with Glasses Man, I think. It was probably extremely pointless. The only character worth anything in this garbage fire is good old Nanami. Nanami is the tragic tale of Second Girl. Why pursue a relationship with a girl who has her own dreams and ambitions, genuine chemistry with you, funny, passionate feelings, and personality? Fuck it. Who needs that shit when Autismo needs you to literally fucking dress her? Sheena was the worst main female romantic lead ever. She doesn't talk, she doesn't express herself, she doesn't do or want anything. Nothing about her is appealing, and nothing could ever be gained from spending any time with her. She's an absolute drain. Main dude and Sheena have no connection at all yet. Because Sheena is the main girl, Nanami is left stranded. Having a good, interesting, well-rounded character lose to a literal potato is offensive to everyone's intelligence. Main dude is a drop-dead retard who's only thinking with his lower-than-average IQ dick. Sakurasou is not nearly as infuriating as Refrain, but it's actually more popular and highly regarded. The only people that enjoy Sakurasou are those who want subservient sex bots to do whatever they tell them. Fuck Sakurasou. Number 1, Flowers of Fucking Evil, or Akuno Fucking Hama for some weird degenerate. Flowers of Evil is not only the worst anime of the decade, but also my least favorite anime ever. The thing about Flowers of Evil is like, yeah, it's easy to make fun of the weird rotoscoping art, making the characters look atrocious and disgusting, or the pretentious main dude reading equally ostentatious books, or the horrendous pink girl who not only looks fat and disgusting, but also acts fat and disgusting. No, that shit's all surface level and obvious. The problem with Flowers of Evil is how it destroys the goodwill it does eventually build. Spoilers. In the middle of Flowers of Evil, there's this absolutely wondrous scene. It ends the episode, and all the BS that Flowers of Evil dragged us through feels like it actually had a place and a reason. It's an absolutely beautiful scene, and Flowers of Evil had completely won me over, and I was dragged into its flow. But then, the follow-up to this beauty of a scene, the next episode, was an atrocious half-episode walking scene. Such a scene has its place. It's meant to build tension for the act that just occurred, but this scene in particular is absurdly long. After a minute and a half, you get it, and you're ready to move on, but the scene continues. Then you get out of it and start being amused by the scene and the music. Then you're absolutely out of it, and you just start laughing at how hard this scene is trying and how seriously it's taking itself. Then it turns to disbelief at how the hell is this scene still fucking going on? Finally, by the time it ends, Flowers of Evil returns to its normal bullshit. No consequences, no character development, no anything. Flowers attempts some interesting scenes and character writing, but all of it just fails completely. All the way to the ending, which is appalling. The show ends on a fucking flash-forward slideshow showing eventual plot points and scenes from the manga, and we're just left flabbergasted at how little the creators cared about ending the project. For this, I'm gassed out at Refrain, but I do want it to be known how much I absolutely despise Flowers of Evil. It got me on its side, only to throw me completely off board and proceed to throw shit at me until the end, where it just shoots itself in the foot for absolutely no reason and leaves us completely unsatisfied. Flowers of Evil is not only the worst anime of the decade, it's also the worst show ever, and if you disagree, you're wrong, but feel free to argue pointlessly anyways.